Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk to you about the future of Star Citizen that patches 2.6 and 2.7 will bring. Recently the German magazine PC Games visited the Foundry 42 Frankfurt office to have a hands-on with the latest dev build of Star Citizen. This video will be using that magazine preview as a source, but also I was privy to hosting Brian Chambers at BoredGamer, where we drank beers and lots of other devs were there as well. So I asked them questions as the news of that PC Games article was broken and partially released during that event. So I was able to ask him a lot of questions about some of the stuff they were doing that he was then able to answer. So the roundup of what the actual PC Games guys were able to do when they went to Frankfurt was that they were able to play the latest Star Citizen build that featured procedurally generated planets, and they were able to enter the atmosphere of Delamar and land near the Nix landing zone. They then exited their craft and were able to move around the planet's surface freely. They were also shown the latest iteration of Star Marine gameplay as well. So what are we going to be getting? Star Marine and expected 2.6 patch contents. So Star Marine will be released with 2.6 release, that's the plan. It will be a genuine separate game mode like Arena Commander is. According to the article, the PC Games staff were demonstrated Star Marine maps by Foundry 42 staff, and the whole experience was a lot more polished and feels a lot better than our current iteration of FPS that we have in 2.4.1. But you'd expect that from basically a fully polished module. It's the plan to have Star Marine in Star Citizen Alpha 2.6, as I said, and I'm sure that there will be a lot more features such as hangar-ready ships and missions and all that sort of jazz too, but we'll talk about that closer to the time. There's going to be improvements to the PU, but the standalone Star Marine that we've all been waiting for since March 2015 looks like it is actually coming to us relatively soon. The ability to just jump in and play an FPS match is fantastic. Other things I would expect are FPS gadgets, grenades, more weapons, health system 2.0 as well probably. So that will be basically a proper health and body damage state system. Armor, all that sort of stuff actually making a difference and mattering. Maybe the stances system, maybe the full breathing system, all the stamina stuff. That's all going to be important to Star Marine. I hope we see the Herald and that sort of jazz too, but we'll talk about that closer to 2.6 time. And that time, I think, might even be at Gamescom. I expect that's the build that the streamers will be using to run around and shoot each other. I expect that's why they wanted some streamers there to show off some gameplay like that. But we'll have to wait and see to see if that's correct. But what of procedural planets? Well, the expected 2.7 patch contents is those procedural planet technologies and all that sort of jazz. It's the next big step for Star Citizen. It plans to bring procedural planets, and we're going to be able to travel in the Stanton system with various planets and planetoids, so we can land and approach them from orbit and land on them. There will be automatic landing zones in the style of like the Nix landing zone, but there will also be manual ways to land and get out of your craft and explore the planet's surface. The PC Games guys were actually able to test that. They were landing on a planet. They were apparently using GTX 980 graphics card, and they got around 45 frames a second on the surface. And for an unpolished test of procedural planets, that seems okay. I'd expect a 1060 to do even better, even if that was available now. But by the time we actually get 2.7 into our hands, it's going to be a lot more polished for release anyway. The new lighting system apparently looks a lot more natural. Approaching planets and landing on them feels better than Elite Dangerous, according to what the PC Games guys had tried so far. There is a dynamic LOD, or level of detail system, for surface and topographical details. You can land anywhere manually. Automatic landing will get you to those fixed positions like the Nix landing zone. They were particularly impressed with the cloud and I think gas system. They mentioned that there was depth and height and impact to them as well, and that your view isn't restricted by range, but it's kind of restricted by visibility through volumetric calculations, like how you're looking through the atmosphere and stuff. So it's literally based as if there's fog, you can't see through the fog, that sort of stuff. Procedural Planets 2.0, so this is a little bit different. Brian was talking to me and some other people at BoredGamer, and we talked about artists and designer tools for creating these planets. Internally, that's known as Procedural Planets 2.0. So this gives them a much better fine-tune kind of tools so they can make the planets as they want. They can edit areas. Brian said during the BritzenCon panel that some of the devs wrote his name on a planet with trees and then blew them all up, for example. And they went, hey, have a look here, Brian. We're going to blow your name up in trees. If you'd like to see that panel or read the rundown of it, links are in the description for pretty much everything I'm talking about. They also plan to have some forms of ecosystems. There are planned trees and animals that they'll be able to put in, though I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be with the first release of Procedural Planets in 2.7. Hopefully it will be, might not be. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But it's a massive step for Star Citizen. What's beyond the future of 2.7? So 2.8 and onwards, I suppose. They're planning to get more players in each instance concurrently, and they're improving the network side of the game all the time. Obviously, an important part of the MMO is getting that network side fully working and getting as many players in as possible. Microtech and Hurston Hero landing zones will come in after 2.7 as well. They want to have the Stanton system fully playable with all landing zones and all stations, about 40 locations in total, by the end of 2016. And trading should also be implemented by then too. At least that's the plan at the moment. Chris talked about missions as well. And he said that you could accept missions up in space stations, which would lead you down to planet surfaces and other various locations as well. There's going to be a much larger range of missions from patch to patch. AI subsumption and general server improvements were another big talking point. The AI subsumption stuff will allow NPCs to form decisions based on their environment and given situations. We've seen little peeks at the AI before, but the NPCs might have hobbies and possess their own dynamic behaviors, allowing them to remember and be influenced by players and their opinions and what they were doing at the time, and remember tasks they were doing and go and do them. It seems they were also shown some cool pieces of Squadron 42 as well, but in general, the pieces are falling into place now for Star Citizen, with Squadron 42 Episode 1 still expected to be released towards the end of this year. It makes sense. There are more game mechanics and features that have been completed and are being completed. There's a lot more legroom that's been done in regards to setting up CIG and Foundry 42 as studios, but also the pipelines for the ships, models and animations are all fully geared in efficiency mode, as it were. We've heard all about these tools that they've been building and reworks of bits and pieces, and it would seem that getting all this stuff set up and getting these reworks done at an early stage has paid off for them. Obviously, the real test will be seeing it with our own eyes, with 2.5 right around the corner, and then Gamescom and probably 2.6 in our hands relatively soon after that. I think it's an exciting time for Star Citizen. Anyway, guys, I'm planning to read the whole article in German, if I can remember how to read in German, as it's been quite a while. At some point, I'll be seeing if there's anything we missed, or anything else that I can extrapolate from that magazine or article. I haven't actually got the physical magazine in my hands, so there might be a few more pages and stuff that we weren't seeing in the preview. If there's a load more information in that article, or there's some follow-up pieces within the next few days, I'll do some form of follow-up video or article. But for more Star Citizen content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It genuinely does help me. And remember, you can also win a ship each month by commenting on any of my Star Citizen videos for that month. July is for a Dragonfly, but if it's not July anymore, I'm sure there'll be something else in August or whatever. I hope that was enjoyable, guys, and I will see you in the verse.